And Mike and Cher, this has tragically gone from a 3.5 hour standoff with police to a deadly conclusion here at the Port of Los Angeles. The man jumped from the tallest crane here at the port down to the ship below to his death. Now, this unfortunate deadly ending here at the port, it happened after a bizarre chase when the driver acted erratically, at times hanging out the window. He's made his way from San Bernardino in what police say was a stolen white 2018 Subaru from a dealership. Now, when he got to the port, he seemed to drive in circles before ditching the SUV and then climbing the tallest crane here at the port. He trekked up 8 stories worth of stairs. Now, at times, he was walking backwards. Once at the top, he was seen doing handstands and crunches as authorities gathered at the bottom of the crane, also overhead in helicopters, and then in the harbor by boat. Now, at one point, he broke into the house area of the crane by breaking a window. He then took off his shoes and shirt and dangled his feet over the edge of the crane. He took off all of his clothes eventually and sat naked, crunched in a corner, holding his knees. Now, when SWAT tried to engage the man, he appeared as if he was going to jump until they backed off for quite some time. And then as the hours ticked by, he eventually jumped to his death onto the ship below. Now, joining me here is crane operator Patrick Bates. He was actually leaving the yard tonight when all of a sudden this man was driving in. Patrick, thanks for joining us. I know you said you just had to go home and you couldn't even watch it on TV. It was too disturbing. Sir, just tell me what you saw tonight, this man entering the yard.
I was just ending my shift, and I was driving off the terminal, and he come flying around a turn and blew past the security guard, and the pursuit was behind him, and I knew something bad was happening as I was on my way home. Went home, turned on the news. I saw the helicopters, turned on the news, and I saw him on that crane, and it was unbelievable. Just the height of that it takes your breath away. I don't care how long you've been doing it, and you go up there, you hold on, and he was up there doing things that I just could not watch.
And I understand it was the changing of the guard, if you will, changing of shifts between you guys. I imagine if a crane operator had been there, he probably wouldn't have made it all the way up as high as he did.
He could have. I was watching your earlier, watching on the news, and I actually seen him pass 2 guys on the crane. The guys were ready for next shift. If you watch and look back on, and he went up the stairs. They do have elevators in them, and he blew right by him and went up the stairs, and I watched it.
Oh, such a tragedy.
Yeah.
And no, so the night shift, they weren't able to start here, correct?
No. They will not start when something like this happens, and they're losing lots and lots and lots of money. You know, and it's a tragic ending. I don't mean to talk about money, but it's tragic that it happened. But they are losing millions of dollars right now.
Okay, because the night shift didn't even start their shift at 6, and so it's been shut down for 4 hours now.
Yes, and it shuts down, and then it just backs everything. So everything that was supposed to be done tonight, it has to be done tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And it causes a logistic problem.
Okay. All right. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I know you've been impacted by this.
Yes,
you and I have been chatting. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, we're going to have more on this sad situation here at the Port of Los Angeles coming up tonight on the 11 o'clock news. For now, reporting live, Sheriff Michael, send it back to you in the studio.
I am your host, Xavier, and you are watching Final Day Live Stories. Subscribe to my channel for a constant flow of great content. Like the video and drop a comment down below. It really helps out my channel with the algorithm. James Llamas, age 23, on August 16th, 2017, stole a car and led police on a high-speed chase. He ended up ditching the car at the Port of Los Angeles and climbed stairs all the way up a 160-foot crane where he ended up falling off to his death. Suspected car thief, 23, climbs a crane and strips naked while cops pursue him before falling 160 feet to his death. James Llamas, 23, fell to his death in Port of Los Angeles on Wednesday night, stole an SUV from a dealership before leading police on a chase through the port. Tense hours-long standoff after he climbed the crane ended in his death. A suspected car thief has fallen 160 feet to his death from a crane which he climbed to evade cops during a police pursuit. James Llamas, 23, drove into the Port of Los Angeles Wednesday night during a police chase, then climbed to the top of a loading crane, stripped naked, and dangled over the edges. The man plunged to the ground and died in the hospital about 3 hours later from his injuries. It's not clear whether he slipped or jumped deliberately, Los Angeles fire officials said. Police in Los Angeles spotted the Subaru SUV reported stolen from a dealership in San Bernardino. An hours-long chase ensued, the LAPD said. Eric Nasser, a salesman at the Subaru dealership where the SUV was stolen, said he saw the man but steered clear. He said he didn't want no smoke. I let him be because he seemed on edge, Nasser told KNBC-TV. I figured he'd just kind of walk off and go about his business. Instead, the man found an SUV with the keys in it, got inside, and took off. Several television stations broadcast the chase live, showing the vehicle swerving at high speed through the freeway traffic in Los Angeles and Long Beach, sometimes crossing into oncoming lanes. Llamas drove through a security gate and into a container terminal at the vast Port of Los Angeles property, circling back and forth under giant loading cranes and next to a docked ship before jumping out of the still-moving SUV and racing up the stairs of the crane. He broke a window and climbed into the crane cab, then climbed out, walked to the end of the crane, over water, and darkness fell. Port workers stopped working and watched the scene, some with binoculars. Police waited below for him for hours, worried what if they approached he might slip off or jump. As news helicopters hovered above, he shed his Lakers jersey and shoes, then later took off the rest of his clothes. He dangled and nearly fell several times before eventually plunging to the ground. Our officers were nowhere near to close proximity of the suspect at that point that he fell, Detective Megan Aguilar said. Los Angeles Councilman Joe Buscaino said Thursday he's concerned about with how easily the SUV was able to blow past the port security gate. Port spokesman Rachel Campbell said Port Police launched an investigation into all circumstances regarding Wednesday evening's incident, including the security breach at the container terminal. This thorough review, including protocols necessary to address improvements, will be completed as soon as possible. Final Day Live Stories. I am your host, Xavier. Like, comment, subscribe. Help out the algorithm